Hello and welcome back to another episode of Basketball Talk. Scott, we're just days away from another NBA season.
We are indeed. Got a fun video lined up, the 2022-2023 predictions. I always think this is a fun time as an NBA fan, trying to think about what teams are going to do what, who's going to play well, who's going to tank. I think it's always good fun. So we're going to start off with some team predictions. Who's going to do what, what's our idea on the expectations for each team. Move into some playoff predictions as well, looking at who's going to hopefully be in the run for a championship, as well as looking at who's going to be the final four, who's got the realistic chance of getting to the conference finals, who can really put the name on trying to become an NBA champion. We're going to take a look at some yearly award predictions toward the end as well. I always think this is a good part to look at who you think is going to maybe take a next step as a player, as well as some final closing predictions as well, and maybe just some topics that we think may crop up and our opinions on it.
So for the team predictions, we're going to do them via the division that they're in. So we're going to start in the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. So kicking things off with the Atlantic Division, looking at the Boston Celtics, my team. I had a lot of high hopes for the Boston Celtics. We made some good acquisitions in Gallinari, Blake Griffin and Malcolm Brogdon. But with the recent injury to Gallinari and the situation around the head coach, less optimistic now.
Definitely. I think the big thing at the start of the pre-season stuff, prior to the issue with Ime Udoka, when you just looked at the roster, it didn't seem like you lost anybody, which was really good. It was additions, it was places that you needed.
It felt like you only built on what you had.
Yeah, it felt like last season was obviously not a fluke, and this year would be a little bit more of moving on from it. But I think a head coach is an important part, and I think to lose the guy who really registered, your defensive backbone, your defensive structure, I just wonder whether that's going to have a bigger impact for the Celtics, unfortunately.
Yeah, another question mark as well, and I really like him. It's not around the player per se, but Jaylen Brown, obviously there was rumours about trying to trade him during the off-season. Mm-hmm. I think it's a bit disrespectful, obviously. I think if things carry on playing out the way they have been, there's a chance he doesn't sign his extension and stuff as well. So that's another question mark this year. I don't think... I was thinking that they were definitely going to be nailed on for the NBA Finals. I'm not so sure now. Mm-hmm. It'd be an interesting one to see. But in terms of the Boston Celtics coaching situation, I'm less worried now knowing that we've just got the assistant coach. We've not got a brand new head coach in. Mm-hmm. So you think he would understand the philosophy that Ime Udoka was trying to implement. You think he could keep them on track, theoretically. So I'm less worried about the coaching situation, but obviously with the injury of Gallinari and a few question marks over other players, how they're going to play together and stuff, I don't really see them making the finals this year, in all honesty.
Unfortunately not, no. I don't think they're not going to fall off. They're not going to be out of the playoffs or anything. I just don't think they're going to be able to perform the way they did last year, unfortunately.
So to start with the Brooklyn Nets, what are your thoughts on them?
I'm going to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. I'm going to think that they're going to do well, or hope that they do well. I don't necessarily dislike anybody on this team. I just understand that there is a lot of off the court issues and sometimes a little bit of questions around it. The Kevin Durant thing over the summer definitely won't have helped. Questions about Ben Simmons coming back and whether he's healthy or not. So I'd like to see them do well, but it feels arguably one of the hardest teams to predict, I think, in terms of you could really see both ends of the spectrum. This team could be just about scraping the playoffs, or they could, be maybe finishing in the top three in the East. So an unpredictable one in my opinion.
So you've got the Brooklyn Nets finishing at 4th.
I do. And
I've got the Brooklyn Nets finishing at 9th.
Yeah. That's my point.
Yeah,
you could see it both ends of the spectrum.
I don't think they're going to mesh really. I think Kevin Durant will come out and play.
I believe
trade.
That, yeah.
I think he'll come out and play well. Question marks around Kyrie Irving in terms of how much he actually wants to play anymore. I'm not 100% sold on him. Yeah, I think he could make the playoffs via the play-in, but I'm not putting them 4th. I'm not putting them ahead of Toronto, Cleveland, Hawks, Bulls, any of them teams who are lower down for me.
I'm maybe putting a little bit too much stock in Ben Simmons, thinking about how defensively, in theory, he should be able to help this team. They weren't that good last year, so having a guy who's 6'10", who can defend through 4 positions comfortably, that should help. The question is he going to be fit? Is he going to mesh well? I'm just going to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt and say, let's give them a chance first, and I'll fall flat on that prediction of finishing 4th.
So roughly how many wins for 4th place do you think they'll have?
I could see them
around
being close
40,
to
high 40s.
Yeah, I could see them, needing probably to get minimum 48, 50 wins to finish in a top 4 seed. Again, I'm doing this hoping that everybody stays fit and meshes well, but I understand easily why people could put them 8, 9, 10 as well. So
Yeah. So next up in the Atlantic Division, we've got the New York Knicks with a big signing in Jalen Brunson. I've got them finishing 10th. You've got them finishing... What number have you got them? 11th?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. 11th sounds about right,
yeah. So with similar position. I think it could be a big year for him, though, and I think he could probably improve quite a lot.
It has to be a big year for him because he's getting paid now like he's a bona fide star, really. He's making the big money. I just look at the rest of that roster. It's not too different from last year. A couple of years ago, they obviously done really, really well. I just don't see how the one addition of Jalen Brunson really taken them from... I think they finished 11th or 12th last year. I don't see that pushing them into a play-in spot.
No, I think it was like... I like him, but I feel like they paid all-star money for a good starter, not an all-star starter, a good starter.
Yeah, there's levels
maybe he can push on further from that. Now it's going to be built around him, theoretically going to be built around him. You'll have to see how that plays out. But it'll be an interesting one. I think the Knicks are going to push up a few seeds, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. So I've got them at 10th. I don't think they make the play-in. I think they'll compete in it, obviously, but they're not going to make the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I just don't look at that roster and think it's going to be giving anybody enough trouble to really push on in the playoffs. That's just my opinion on it at the moment.
So they've got RJ Barrett, Julius Randle and Derrick Rose, which are some good players there. You could think Derrick Rose could potentially be sixth man if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy and New York give him enough time, there's no reason he couldn't come off the bench and give you 15, 16 points and look to pick up the sixth man of the year. Be quite interesting. I think off the top of my head, if he did that, he may be the first person in NBA history to ever win MVP and sixth man of the year in a career. I don't think that's ever happened.
I like RJ Barrett as a player as well. It would be good to see him push on a bit more if he can contribute slightly more with the addition of Jalen Brunson. Maybe he can make the playoffs through the play-in. I don't know, but be interesting. Philadelphia 76ers.
Yes.
James Harden has been doing some exercise.
He looks in great shape, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks brilliant. He looks to be taking it seriously. He took a pay cut.
Yeah.
All signs of that, he's fully committed to being in Philadelphia and winning with Philadelphia. After he landed in Brooklyn, we thought that would have been his landing spot. But obviously, he forced his way out of there, and it was starting to become a bit of a thing with James Harden. That, he quit when he sort of doesn't see it going anywhere, so to speak. But now he's in Philadelphia, and I think after the playoff performances and stuff, and after he probably was a lesser version of himself. Now, whether that's due to a few injuries or was a bit out of shape, he seems to have used that to motivate him and push on. And to be honest, I actually thought it was going to go the other way, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think last year he said he was still struggling with his hamstring injury. He did look a little bit out of shape, which obviously, when you're playing at this level and you're competing against great athletes, I'm sure that even if you're only 5 or 6% off what your usual game is, that's a big drop off against other really great players. So, but I agree, it was becoming a little bit of a narrative that he didn't play well in the playoffs. He didn't really care about winning. This year, he seems like he's tweaked it a little bit. He's taken the cut so they could, sign some of the names like Montrezl Harrell, PJ Tucker
is a big one. Yeah.
So I think he's taken a little bit of a cut in his money. He's come back into training camp in shape. He looks healthy. Just have to hope that Joel Embiid, there's no serious injuries and they can hopefully have a good season together. But for me, Philadelphia,
Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey. You've got some good players there overall. I do think Philadelphia will be the team to beat in the East, in my opinion, if they stay healthy. I always say that, if they stay healthy. But I'm really interested to see how they mesh together over the course of a full season. Yeah, no, hopefully they do well. Again, I really enjoy watching Joel Embiid play because for a long, long time, even for us being fans only maybe since like 2007, 2008, it felt like for a while there was a lack of big men, whereas at the minute it feels like we're kind of spoilt a little bit with just the quality that they've got. I really enjoy watching him play because he plays both ends and he can do a little bit of everything. So hope he stays fit. I hope James Harden feels comfortable as a number 2 option. And yeah, this team really interests me. Yeah, they were 51-31 last year, and that was, when did they get James Harden in terms of the season? Was it halfway through? It was approximately halfway through, yeah. So you think with the addition of a healthy James Harden, that should bump up 5-6 games minimum. So, you're talking close to 60 wins. I think they could be as I said, they could be the team to win or thereabouts, first, second.
No, definitely.
So to finish things off in the Atlantic Division, we've got the Toronto Raptors, Scott.
Yeah, I like them. I think they're a really good team. I don't think there was any subtractions from the team this year, which is always good. I don't think there was any particularly massive additions. So for me, they finished 5th last year. They're a really good team. I don't think they're going to make any... I don't see them jumping into that top 3, if that makes sense. I just don't see them being that team in the East, personally. But I do like them. I think they're a really good team.
No, I don't see them beating Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Miami or Boston. So I don't think they go above the 5th spot. Now you've got them at 6 currently, and I've got them at 5. So I agree with you. They're thereabouts what they was last year. I don't think they're going to be any worse because they're not a particularly old team.
No, they're not. They're not got anyone who's really struggling for age and things. Younger players like OG Anunoby and Scotty Barnes, it feels like those are the guys they want to improve and develop. Pascal Siakam's still probably going to be in that mid-20 scoring range, that type of thing. Fred Van Vliet's still going to do really good stuff. So this is a team, when people call them sleepers, I feel like it's a team in the playoffs you wouldn't want to play because in a 7-game series they really could give you a nightmare. But I just don't see them at the minute being one of those top 3 in the East myself.
It's a team that you think if they got one or two stars would really push on again because the core's all there. They just need something to take them over that final hurdle.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they believe Scotty Barnes can be that guy in a couple of years. They really like him. They put a lot of stock in him. They didn't want to lose him this summer for any trade pieces. So they place a lot of value in him. So maybe they feel that he is the guy. So the next division we're going to take a look at is the Central Division. First team up, we've got the Chicago Bulls. What's your thoughts on this, Ryan?
So they finished 6th last year. I've got them finishing 8th this year. So I believe they'll probably slide down in terms of the win percentage. I don't think they've particularly improved. They've got Dragic and stuff who I like, but he's an aging player, so he's only going to be able to contribute so much. Lonzo Ball's question marks around him as well.
Injuries.
So, what is the injury? You told me the other day. It's slipped my mind.
I feel like it's a knee injury, but it was a couple of days since I read about it, but it doesn't seem too promising. It does look like he's going to miss a bit of time. So it will obviously give Goran Dragic a little bit more time to play a few more minutes and things. Maybe Alex Caruso as well, but I like what they did in terms of bringing in Drummond and Dragic. I just don't know whether they can repeat the success they had last year to the volume.
Sometimes a team can overperform, similar to Atlanta, not last year but the year before, when they pushed on and beat New York and stuff in the playoffs. And everyone thought that was the expectation going into the next season, and it's not. Sometimes you can overperform in a playoff series or, towards the end of a season and finish with a better record than really you probably should have had.
Yeah.
It just depends on the run of games, doesn't it? You could have winnable games to close the season out. So, I don't expect much from the Chicago Bulls, in all honesty. You've got an all-star there in DeRozan and Ball,
Zach LaVine as
well. So you got a few all-stars if they stay healthy in terms of... But that's probably the only thing that they're going to get in terms of this year.
Yeah. We've got Cavaliers next, Cleveland Cavaliers. They made a big old trade this summer. They got Donovan Mitchell to join the roster. Didn't really give up too many pieces to get him, which was pretty good in terms of losing key players and things. So what are we thinking about the Cavaliers?
So they finished 9th last year. I think the Cavs are really going to push on. I've put them in 6th to clearly get into the playoffs without the playing. I like the acquisition of Donovan Mitchell. I like the core that they've got. Obviously, Robin Lopez is a reliable big man. He's nothing special. Ricky Rubio, decent-ish player. Kevin Love is still a good player. And then you've got all the younger players as well. So I think it's a good mix of some veterans, actually. You've got good older veterans. You've got some good young up-and-coming players. And then you've got a star in Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
So on the basis that it meshes well, I think they could potentially finish above Toronto. They could even get to a 5th, in my opinion. I don't think they're going to break the top 4, but I think, they're definitely a playoff team now, in my opinion. Or I'm hoping so, at least.
Part of me wonders a little bit about the Garland and Donovan Mitchell fit, only because I don't think Mitchell's played with another ball-dominant scorer guard before. I'm not saying they can't play together. It's just his time in Utah, he hasn't really had that. Mike Conley wasn't really facilitating that role, particularly in the last couple of years. So that's my only question. But in terms of looking at a potential starting 5, Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, you've got Jarrett Allen, Isaac Okoro. There's some really, really good players there. I don't see it being a bad team at all. The part of me wonders, can two guys who are so ball dominant and so used to having the ball so much, can they mesh well? That's my only question with them, really.
Yeah.
Next up, Detroit Pistons, an interesting team. Again, a real mixed bag. We've got some veterans on the team. We've got quite a lot of young players as well. They've obviously made a big move in terms of getting Jaden Ivey in the draft and things. So
they've also now got Kemba Walker, which is a good. I like Kemba Walker. He's underperformed at some teams. He didn't really push on from Charlotte the way he wanted. He wanted to go to a bigger market and win championships and stuff, and it didn't really work out. But at a core, he's still a very good player.
I wonder if they're going to play him or just maybe salary dump him. To be totally honest, because. Yeah. It's only because of the position he plays. So Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, they are going to want to develop them as the guards because that's the future, and that's not a knock on Kemba.
No, I just thought he could have been off the bench option, a good off the bench option.
He could be. I just wonder whether maybe they're going to try and trade him. Maybe as like a team that needs a veteran piece type of thing, an extra guard in the rotation type of thing. Detroit are probably not going to be pushing for a playoff spot, if that makes sense. That's probably not going to happen this year. Whereas there might be a team out there that's willing to give something up for Kemba, who are pushing to get like a top 7, 6, 5 seed type of thing. So, but Detroit for me, I think it's going to be another year where there's not too much winning, but we should hopefully see some good development, particularly from Cade Cunningham and some of the younger players as well, like Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey. So I think it's going to be an interesting year, but probably not one where the win meter moves too much from last year. So we're going to move on to the Indiana Pacers next. Again, a team where personally I don't see them winning too many games this year. Young roster. Probably likely to rack up quite a few losses this year, do you think?
Yeah, I just think they're going for a high draft pick, similar to the Spurs. I think they're completely going to tank. I've got them finishing 15th. Last year they finished 13th with 25 and 57. I'm not expecting much good basketball, in all honesty, in Indiana. It's not that there's not a few good young players there, but I think it's obvious that they want to just get a few more draft picks and completely rebuild again.
Yeah.
Sadly for Indiana fans, there's not going to be much to get excited about, in my opinion.
I suppose with the upcoming draft, you might be willing to take, as a fan, you might be more than happy to take a season of pretty poor performances with what that treasure at the end of it could be, really. I think they do have some players that I do expect to maybe be moved. So Miles Turner is a fantastic centre. He can stretch the floor, he blocks shots. He's really, really good in that position. So I do expect them maybe to try and flip him for some picks somewhere down the road, particularly if they're going in on all tanking to get some picks. And Buddy Hield
I was about to say Buddy Hield is an interesting one because there's been rumours about obviously the Lakers trying to get him. I like Buddy Hield. They should have just went and got Buddy Hield in the first place, in my opinion.
He can shoot the ball really well. He would fit with that Lakers roster so well. He's not a good defender, but then again, that's the Lakers in general. But he can shoot the ball. So I do think he'll be one of those. He's one of those assets where I can imagine a lot of teams are calling for Buddy Hield and they want to know what the price is for him, really. So
yeah, I think if Miles Turner and Buddy Hield go, they're nailed on potentially for the worst record.
Potentially.
Basically, they could become the Houston Rockets.
Finally, we've got the Milwaukee Bucks, a team who I'm sure plenty of expectations. They're going into training camp thinking this could easily be a year where they're pushing on, trying to get another championship. For Giannis, maybe feels like there's a little bit of a narrative that is, his flair's wearing off a little bit. He's had his MVPs, he's got his trophy now, it's time to move on. I think it could be a year where he bounces back and the team in general.
Yeah, I think so, because they finished third last year. They had a few injuries as well and stuff as well, which why they didn't really push on the playoffs. I think I said this previously to you, I don't know if it was on any of the episodes, but obviously the absence of Chris Middleton and stuff, it makes it a much tougher series for Boston.
Most definitely.
If he's a part of the equation as well. So I think they're going to push on. I've got the Bucks finishing first with between, 55 and 60 wins or whatever. I think they're really going to do well. I like the roster they've got with Ibaka and stuff as well.
Joe Ingles to me was a really good signing. He's a good little wing shooter. So to me, I look at that team, I think they've got depth pretty much at every position. You obviously have to kind of say all of this if they stay healthy, but if they do, it's easily going to be one of the best teams in the league comfortably, isn't it? So
yeah, big Chris Middleton fan as well, so it'll be good to see him back healthy.
Yeah, hopefully he can have a nice bounce back season.
So moving things on to the Southeast Division, we've got the Atlanta Hawks. They finished 8th last year, Scott. You have them finishing at 9th, so you're pretty much the same.
I do indeed, and it's nothing against the Hawks. I do really like them. I just wonder, again, I think I've kind of mentioned this to one of the other teams, trading for Dejounte Murray. Trae Young has spent basically the first 4 seasons of his career being ball-dominant point guard, shooting when he wants, facilitating when he wants. Getting in Dejounte Murray, he's going to have to... The two of them are going to have to learn to play off one another.
He's going to have to share the ball some more. Yeah.
He's going to have to, and I wonder whether either one of them can get used to playing off the ball when they're used to maybe having the ball a little bit more. I don't have a problem with them. When I was looking at who makes where in the Eastern Conference brackets and things like that, I just felt they fit into the ninth bit perfectly in my opinion.
Yeah, so I've moved them up to 7th. I think they're going to slightly improve. They're still going to, unfortunately, have to go through the playing because it's obviously top 6 now and then 7th and 8th going into the playing. So, but I think they'll get through the playing based off who I've got for my 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. Do I see them getting past the first round? Probably not, in all honesty. No. I like the Atlanta Hawks and I like them too. I like the idea of them pushing on through the playoffs, but I think it's similar to what I was saying before over the New York series and stuff when they've done really well there. I think that might be in a case of overplaying.
I agree.
I think they might need a bit more than Trae Young, and I'm a really big Trae Young fan. But it would be good to see him this season just improve a bit defensively. And it's not that he's going to be a massive, great defender because he's not. Obviously, he's going to be limited with his height and stuff. But to just put the effort in would make a difference. It sounds like you're really criticising him, but not just to get a few steals, but to just get back sometimes. Just do some little things that a smaller guard can do to impact defensively. It'd be a good improvement for the Atlanta Hawks, I think.
Effort's got to be the minimum, hasn't it, from any player, to be honest? But I look at the roster and I don't see. Obviously, Dejounte Murray is a massive upgrade in terms of actually having a backcourt teammate who can defend. I just don't see them pushing on massively from last season. That's my opinion on them.
So for the Charlotte Hornets, they finished with 43 wins and 39 losses. I've got them falling from 10th to 14th, and you've got them finishing a 10th again, so you've got them staying the same. Yeah. I think they're going to completely fall out because you've now got the injury of LaMelo Ball. They did do a short deal with his brother as well, LiAngelo, who's there, but they've waived him as of last night. I don't expect much from the Hornets. Terry Rozier is a good player. Gordon Hayward's a good player. Questionable haircut. I just don't see them really doing much, and I think it's more not the players. It's more of a franchise thing with Charlotte. It's just it's like a cursed franchise.
It does feel like it's one of those franchises where they're almost destined to just stay in media. And I feel really harsh saying that, but it does feel like one of those mediocre franchises. But when I look at the main players on this team, so Rozier, Kelly Oubre Jr., Jalen McDaniel, Mark Williams, LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, there's nothing too much that's too different from last season. So I don't see them getting worse, depending on injuries. But unless someone takes a massive, massive step, I don't see them being anywhere higher than 10th, in my opinion.
When we talk about the Charlotte Hornets, I just expect really poor performances, low winning records. I've just never seen them do well, and I just don't think it's a very well-run franchise. Obviously, Michael Jordan is just not the greatest owner, sadly.
Yeah.
It's not a knock on him. It's just it's a completely different role to being a player.
He's going to take that personally.
He can take that personally. But he's brilliant. But just as an owner, I hated the Bobcats. I don't like the Hornets. They never do anything. It's not exciting.
It's fair to say you're not a fan. Okay, fair enough.
I'm not a fan. LaMelo Ball is like a really good player. And an exciting player, one as well. It feels like it's a similar thing with Kemba. They got him and it was a similar thing. Like they had the first few years when he's a rookie doing well, and that good rookie takes them so far.
Yeah.
And then they come a bit, fed up with the franchise. They move on and then they slowly fall back down again. Then they get another good draft pick and it happens again. And I think a similar thing could happen with LaMelo Ball, basically.
I think they struggle to attract talent, don't they? Unfortunately, your talent usually goes to your bigger markets. People are not maybe clamouring to get to Charlotte. So, but then again, if LaMelo is as good as he looks like he can be, maybe that'll change. And you might not get the absolute A-list stars coming to your team, but you might get a few B, C+ type of players. But I agree with you. I don't think they're pushing on, but I don't think they're going to slip the way you think they will. But I can still see them, around about 10th, 11th.
So next we've got the Miami Heat. They finished first last year.
Yes, they did.
I've got them finished in third. You've got them finished in third as well. So we're both in agreement that basically we've got the same teams finishing above them in a different order. We both think the Bucks and Sixers are going to finish above them. Warranted? Maybe not so, because other than the Boston series, they were great. Yeah. They just couldn't really hold it together for the Boston series. But they did have a few injuries as well. Obviously, Kyle Lowry was injured. Jimmy Butler was in now, to believe, as well.
So, yeah, missed a couple of games.
Who else missed? someone else missed 1 or 2 games in that series
Maybe
as well.
Tyler Hero as well.
I think it was Tyler Hero.
Couple of matches.
But you've got a former 6th man of the year in Tyler Hero. Bam Adebayo, who's a brilliant player as well. Max Strus.
He is one I'm interested in. I want to see if he can develop, because he had some moments in the playoffs last year where he was arguably looking like round about the 3rd, 4th best player, to be honest. So can he continue that? I always think this, when you see a player do really well in a series, it's really good when you see it. It's just the difference between a nice moment and progression is, can you do it consistently, isn't it? So he's one for me that I'm looking at this year and seeing what he can do. I think for me, the reason I've dropped them a little bit, I don't think the record's going to change too much. I just think teams around them got a bit better. So that's why I think they're 3rd. And Kyle Lowry, not to knock him, he's turning 36, 37 this year. Jimmy Butler's obviously racking up in the age as well. I just think some of your main players, they're kind of increasing in age, and you're going to need to see Bam and Tyler progress to kind of...
Do you not think Udonis Haslam's youth can get them through to the finals?
I mean, I love Udonis Haslem. He's a great player, but I'm not sure how much those knees can take. I'm sure he'll be able to play. He'll be able to play better now than we will ever be able to better play. That's absolutely fine. Well done, UD. But I just think this roster needs a little bit more for them to really push on to be like a top 2.
Yeah, so I've got them 3rd, which means they're probably ultimately in the second round match up with the Sixers potentially. Yeah. I think the Sixers will beat them with a healthy Harden and stuff, and a season to mesh. So yeah, I don't expect a good season overall for Miami, but ultimately around the second round, I think is going to be where they're going to fall.
No, I think that's fair.
Next up, we've got the Orlando Magic. They finished 15th last year, but they've got the number 1 pick in Paolo Banchero. I've got them finishing 13th, so he's going to take them big places. A whole 2 seeds higher. You've got them finishing 14th, so you're less optimistic. What's your thoughts, Scott?
It's when you look
at
it,
big ball.
They've got some really, really good young players. So Franz Wagner, Cole Anthony. I really like Paolo Banchero. They've got some really good young players. They've still got Jalen Suggs, even though he was pretty poor last year. Well. So
he's been a bit.
Yeah, it's just a bit of an up and down roster. I do think though this could be one of the more interesting ones to watch from an offensive standpoint, because Franz Wagner last year was better than I thought he might do. I didn't realise he was as good as he is. And if you mix that with Paolo Banchero and Cole Anthony getting more time, it may be one of those where it's all out attack and there's not really much defending from the team. So, but I think just on the league pass on a night where there's no other games on, Magic versus someone, I think it could be a really good game to watch just because of the younger players.
It could be an exciting game, particularly obviously with Paolo being on the team. I'm expecting big things from him, and I'm really excited to see how he pushes on. I've seen him play a few pickup games in the off-season as well. I can't think who was going out with. I think it was Deontay Murray.
Might be,
Are they both from Seattle? Is Deontay Murray from Seattle? I think it was him. It was Deontay Murray, I think, because he's from Seattle as well. They was going at each other in a pickup game. So that was an interesting thing to see, but not in terms of it doesn't really mean anything, but to see him fire back and stuff as well against established NBA players is a good sign. You don't want him to be pushed around and stuff. He's going to have to show his physicality and stuff in this league. I think that goes for every player, but particularly because of the bigger positions as well. It's sort of you're expected to be a bit more physical as well.
There's always pressure on you as a first pick as well. It's the name in the draft that people remember, isn't it? Who went first, that type of thing. So, and the expectation is always the team could pick from anyone. They picked you, so you're going to have to perform, that type of thing. But to me, it's definitely going to be a team to keep an eye on, and I'll definitely watch a couple of the games because I just think with how young they are, it's kind of like a no fear thing. They're just going to play and they'll probably rack up a load of points and stuff, but they may equally get caught out defensively. So
finally, we've got the Washington Wizards. I think they're going to finish 12th, which is what they finished last year. Bradley Beal, I really like him. Porzingis sort of fell off, really. They're just always going to be a decent game to watch, but I don't think they're going to win anything, in all honesty.
No, they won't. I think Rui Hachimura was a guy a few years ago when he came in the league. People were watching him to see whether he'd take that next step over the coming seasons. He seems like he's kind of plateaued a little bit as just an okay starter level. Kyle Kuzma, again, another guy that will be an interesting one to see whether he can step it up. To me, this is arguably the strangest team because I think you've got a couple of young players on here. You've then got your really big money player in Bradley Beal. You've got Porzingis, who's on the big money contract but not playing like a big money player. To me, this could just be... I really don't understand where they could go. I could easily see them finishing anywhere between 10 and 15 and it wouldn't surprise me. I could see them sneaking in the play-in or I could see them being borderline absolutely terrible. So I just don't know what to expect with this team, to be totally honest. Okay, we're going to move over into the Western Conference. We're going to start with the Northwest Division. We've got the Denver Nuggets up first. What are we thinking with this one, Ryan?
Well, they finished 6th last year, and you've got them all the way up into 1st.
I know, that's because they were missing their second and third best players, and it was Nikola Jokic and a team of players.
Yeah, I'm really high on them. I just don't think they're going to finish 1st. I think they finished 3rd, to me. Brilliant team. They've got DeAndre Jordan and stuff as well, so I'm excited to see how he meshes. I love, obviously, Jokic, brilliant player. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, good for a few dunks.
I think he's improved. He's no longer just the guy who won
no,
the
he's
contest.
Not,
he can do a lot more
he's
than
not
that.
going to be he's not going to be a franchise player or anything.
No,
but he should complement, obviously, Denver quite well. Yeah, I think they're going to be 3rd. I've not got them in my conference predictions, in all honesty. Conference finals. Where do you think?
I've gone with them 1st overall. I just like what Jokic did last year. They were able to rack up 48 wins with no Michael Porter Jr., no Jamal Murray. So his second and third options were not... They didn't play last year, and he still got them to 6th and a 48-win record. I think if those players come back fit and healthy, with obviously having DeAndre Jordan to fill in a little bit of the centre minutes, a bit more of a physical presence when they need him, and they've got Bruce Brown as another wing shooter they got from the net, I just think this team should be really, really
You've strapped the rocket to them, and
I have indeed.
I've put half of a rocket.
You could say I'm conkers deep in Denver. I really, really like these guys. I think that I really do think they're going to be 1st in the West. That's my opinion on it anyway. We're going to take a look at the Minnesota Timberwolves next. In the offseason, they made a huge trade. They acquired Rudy Gobert. What do you think about this, Ryan?
I'm really hopeful for Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
They looked good last year. Just didn't have any defensive stability, really. It was poor defensively, but overall the team shows potential. I've got them finishing in 6th place. Last year they finished in 7th, so not much in terms of a seed improvement, but overall as a team I'd expect, well, I'm hoping for big improvements to get a former, is it 3-time defensive player of the year?
Yeah, so
he had the best defensive rating, I believe, last year as well.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that more than improves the weakest attribute of the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Should do. I just the bit that I always query, having two guys who are 7-footers in the league and the team at the same time, especially where one can't score, not necessarily pace, but one of them can't score outside of 2 feet, Rudy Gobert. So that means he's going to occupy all that space in the lane. Cat is sometimes going to want to do something closer to the basket and not just shoot threes, although he can, and he's a very good shooter, and I'll give him that. I just wonder whether you can have two guys who take up so much space on the floor at the same time. That's my question. But I do think you're right in terms of Rudy Gobert raising the ceiling defensively. If they can keep a similar offensive output but just improve the defense, there's no reason that they can't see some improvement. And Anthony Edwards, to me, is one of my favourite players to watch. So
there, if it works the way, obviously, my predictions have fell, they will play the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
So would you still see them going out in the first round, obviously, against the Nuggets?
With the way you've predicted your brackets,
you've got them against Memphis.
Yeah.
No, you haven't actually. You've got them against Golden State, so you would also theoretically think they'll just bounce out the first round. Yeah. So the big acquisition, but you're still going home in the first round.
It's one of them where you can make a big acquisition. It's all about whether it mixes well with the team. And I just think it's been a while in the NBA since we've seen two guys who are that size playing on the court at the same time together and really make it work. Again, you don't have to make it work in the first season. A lot of times when teams make big trades, it doesn't work straight away. It doesn't work perfectly. So I do think that, over the next few years, we might see something a little bit more. But right now, I don't see them, having moved the needle all too much. So we'll move on to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who made a lot of noise this summer when they drafted Chet Holmgren. There was a lot of preseason talk about whether he's going to be able to make it in the NBA. He's a little bit too slim. He might get bullied. And unfortunately, due to a foot injury, he is going to miss the entire of the season.
He is, and he's in big company with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Blake Griffin, who also missed their first season in the NBA.
Yeah, I do feel a bit sorry for him. And I can appreciate for Thunder fans as well. This is probably really frustrating. You're probably really looking forward to seeing him on the court with Josh Giddey, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but it's going to have to take a little bit of time before you get that. But I just see them as a team that's young, where, again, they're going to be a really fun team to watch, because this will be a year for development for a lot of players, where guys get a lot of time, a lot of shots, and we'll be able to see what they're made of and see, what the future holds for them. But they were 14th last year. Do you reckon they're going anywhere with that? Are they pushing up, or Are we going to see another team that's maybe...
I've got them 13th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't think they're really moving. But I was excited to see how all the young players developed based off the draft picks. In the past, he got a good few draft picks. This year, you thought it would be an interesting season to see how they play, how they mesh, how much can they move up the bracket in terms of win percentage and stuff. Obviously, not really going to be a playoff team, but definitely. If you go from they were 14th last year, if you go to 11th and your rookies have good seasons, it's a good improvement, and you still get a decent draft pick then sort of next time round. They might have a higher draft pick than they originally thought they were going to now, because they're probably going to fall to a similar position again.
Potentially. We'll look at the Portland Trailblazers. I think that they made a nice little move that kind of went unnoticed, which was the Jeremy Grant acquisition. And they also got Gary Payton as a free agent as well. I like these additions. I don't think it's a team that's going to be causing loads of trouble, but they finished 13th last year. I think they should be pushing for a play-in spot, in my opinion, with the team.
I've got them at 10th, so actually so.
Yeah. I could see them occupying that position, and I think they're a good enough team where, because of Damian Lillard's ability to just score from anywhere, if you're going into the play-in and you've got this team where it's like it's a win or go home, it's just one game, I wouldn't want to play Portland. I definitely wouldn't want to play against Damian Lillard, because he can just go lights out and just cause you a nightmare. So I don't think they should be as low as they were last year. I think they should be pushing for a play-in spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we've both got them at 10th. I like Damian Lillard. He's going to start to age. I don't expect him much in terms of... It'll be some exciting games. As you said, they'll probably improve slightly.
Yeah.
Would I expect them to make the play-in based off my 8th, 9th? Not really. No. I don't think they'll make the playoffs.
No. The very final team we've got in the Northwest Division is the Utah Jazz. I've got them dead last. They've traded everybody away.
I've got them dead last. Mike Connolly needs to pack his bags and run.
Jordan Clarkson too.
Clarkson needs to run. That's it really, and then they've completely gone. Boring for Utah fans.
It is for an extent, but if the prize at the end of it is Victor Wanyama, I'm pretty sure they're going to be okay with tanking.
It is, but you then putting it all on one player as a rookie, and it's not to say that he's not going to be a franchise player, but it's finding that balance, isn't it? You can't expect the rookie to be too excited if there's literally just him on the team.
No, but what they could do, so players like Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, there's teams in the league that would definitely find them valuable, and they would give up a pick for it, if that makes sense. They would say, yeah, you know what, take one of our picks. If you can get a future pick, and that turns out to be valuable, or you flip it for something else, you can find yourself, in a position where you've still got some other assets.
Got Rudy Gay as well.
Yeah, he's obviously a veteran presence now. Colin Sexton, he came from the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Donovan Mitchell trade. He's still young enough where he can improve and see something. Taylor Horton-Tucker, again, you can see something from him. Larry Markkanen's been pretty good, both for the Bulls and Cavaliers. None of these guys are going to make them win games, but at the end of the day, Utah doesn't want to win games. They want to tank. They want to get Big Vic. So, but they
were 5th last year as well, and we've both got them dead last.
The Mavericks kind of stole the heart, didn't they? They just took everything from them. So
after that, Donovan Mitchell decided he was going, and so did Gobert, and that was it. Next, we're out in the Pacific Division. We've got the Golden State Warriors to kick things off. I've got them finishing first. You've got them finishing second. Last year they were third. They're the current NBA champions. Big expectations.
Swinging haymakers and knocking people out, in my opinion. That's what I think.
He took a jab for 120 million, was it?
I think it was 140,
140 million over 4 years.
I'd take that right now. Anybody want to come and punch me in the face for 140 million? That's fine. I think they're a really good team, and they lost a couple of good players. Otto Porter Jr., for example, Gary Payton. A couple of guys have left. People are saying that they don't think that the Golden State Warriors can really repeat again. I don't see why, because although the players, they didn't lose players who were absolutely vital. They lost key role players, Payton. But I don't see them. You've still got Steph Curry, you've still got Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole. James Wiseman barely played last year. He's a guy they want to develop. They want him to be the big guy for the future. You've still got Kevon Looney, who stayed. To me, they're still a team that can easily finish in the top three. And I think the beauty of Golden State, they don't need to have a 60-win season to still go on to win the title. They can win 51, 52 games, finish third or fourth, and they'll still find a way. Because last year, they weren't top 2 seed at all. So, to me, I think they've got every right to believe they're getting back there.
I've got them at first, but I don't think they need to be first to push on. If they want to just load manage some players, then they'll happily do it and they'll turn it on in the playoffs. The record doesn't really worry me with Golden State.
No, I agree.
I think they have potential because obviously I think the Suns are going to be an aging franchise. I don't think they're going to be near the top, in my opinion. I think the Golden State Warriors could probably take the first spot. Although it's probably not a primary focus at all.
No, I think all they're looking at is let's get to the end of the season where everybody's fit and healthy and in rhythm. As long as we've got some playoff home advantage, as long as we're top 4, it really doesn't matter. Once they get to the playoffs, they can do something with it. So,
in terms of Draymond Green, is it the end of this year he needs the extension?
I think so. So at the end
do you believe that they will ultimately give him that extension?
Depends on his impact on the roster because, the question of
I think he's slowly declining.
I think he is, but he's still valuable, and we've seen that in the playoffs last year. When you look at him statistically,
over the next 4 years, would you?
No, yeah, that's the difficulty, isn't it? It's paying him in 4 years' time for the way he's playing or has played in the past. That's the problem, isn't it? But I just wonder, could they live with themselves letting him go for free, how it would look for the franchise and things like that. He may also want to go. He may not want to stay there, but I think, what's it worth? Trading him for assets or letting him walk for nothing or keeping him? Personally, I think the Golden State Warriors are going to look to keep him.
Moving on to the LA Clippers. I've got big hopes for the LA Clippers.
I know you do.
Just under the Golden State Warriors. They're going to move all the way up to second. Optimus Dime is going to have a great season. The return of John Wall. I'm really excited to see him play again. Kawhi Leonard's back. Paul George is going to play better than ever. Maybe, probably not. But I'm hopeful of Kawhi Leonard and Wall to contribute really well. Reggie Jackson, Zubac. Last year they were 9th. I think they're going to push on and do really well this season.
Last year they had a lot of injuries. Kawhi missed the entire year. Paul George dealt with injuries. I really like John Wall. I want him to do as well as you believe he can. I really want him to do well. I like the rotation pieces they've got. Norman Powell's pretty good. Luke Kennard. Still got Marcus Morris. I like the team. I'm really happy for them. I just hope that, like we say with every prediction,
you've got them finishing 4th, so you've got them pushing on as well.
Definitely think they can push on. The bit I suppose that's in my head is obviously Kawhi's coming back from a torn ACL. We've seen
do they load manage him a bit more as well, because that's happened with him in the past.
Yeah, we've seen people struggle to come back from that injury and be the same. And you're right, he has been someone who's load managed, and not a knock on him. This is just what it is for him. He does deal with an injury every year. Sometimes not always a big one, but he'll miss a handful of games every year due to injuries. So that's my only reason for keeping them at 4th. But I think they're a great team to watch, and it's going to be a fun one to see. I want John Wall to be as good as you believe he can be. So.
I don't know if I'm partly just in the same boat as you as well. I was wanting someone to do well because he was so good years ago, even defensively as well. He's just brilliant to watch. And a few injuries and infections later, and he slid off. So to see him just not even play for the Houston Rockets because he wanted to tank, you want to see someone who's got a good few years left.
Oh, definitely.
Use their NBA career and get the most out of it. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. From one good LA team with potential to an LA team with poor potential and zero chances of really doing anything, in my opinion, is the Los Angeles Lakers. And when in the past 20 years would you have heard someone talk optimistically about the Clippers and less so about the Lakers?
Yeah.
Never. So,
I mean, the Lakers did have that little spell between 2016 and 18 where
it was poor as well.
And the Clippers were a little bit better. But I just think when you look at the roster, so you've still got LeBron, still got Anthony Davis, still got Russell Westbrook. Big additions this year are Pat Bev and Dennis Schroeder, and that's really it. This doesn't...
The Lakers should be lucky that they've got Pat Bev, as Pat Bev's confirmed. He made the playoffs.
They're playing with him, okay? Yeah. So don't forget that. So we all know that Anthony Davis doesn't like to play centre. He's inadvertently going to have to play a little bit of centre because there isn't much of the size on the roster. And what LeBron has shown throughout his career in needing to get the best from him is spacing. There's no shooters here that scare you, in my opinion. If anything,
to why someone like Buddy Hield would really compliment him. Even then, there could be an over-reliance on Buddy Hield. You can't really do it with just one player, but someone definitely like that.
You need someone who can put the ball in the basket from deep. So, if I remember correctly, I believe Anthony Davis last year shot 29% from 3. Russell Westbrook was 30% from 3. I don't think Patrick Beverley at Minnesota was he wasn't exactly lights out, and neither was Dennis Schroeder. I just wonder what is the expectation for Laker fans. I don't know. It must be hard to go into a season having a guy who's entering year 20 still as amazing as he is, but not really knowing, well, this is what we're going to be able to do.
I believe the Lakers pre-season record, I'm just checking this, check I was right. They won
1-4,
one game and lost 4.
Not good at all, is it really? You don't want to be...
No, it's just... You didn't get the best thing from Anthony Davis as well, saying he hadn't touched a basketball since April. And it's just strange to think you will look at in a similar light to someone like Giannis and stuff years ago before Giannis pushed on, and you've really sort of... You've contributed to a championship, and it's not that you've not done well, but you've not went up, and I don't think he's improved anymore since coming to the Lakers. He's still been that consistent. He's still been a good player. I don't want to say consistent because he has the injuries, but doesn't always come across the most wanting of players.
No, I'd agree. I think he seems like when he's on and when he wants to play, he's a bit of a nightmare because he can defend. Like, I remember reading something about his block stats and stuff like that. Even in the limited capacity he played last year, he's still blocking shots at an insane rate. But to sit there and say, I haven't touched it, even if it's true, by the way, if you didn't touch a basketball from April, it probably wouldn't occur, but it just sends a bit of a message that you're not really all in.
Yeah, so lack of interest.
Especially when this team, I think this gets forgotten as well. If you think back to the start of last season, when the three of them were lining up, Westbrook, AD, and LeBron for Media Day, I don't think any of them are thinking, we're going to finish 11th this year with 33 wins. That's not your goal. So don't sit there and pretend like, last year it wasn't really that bad, so I haven't played basketball. No, it was a train wreck, mate. You need to sort it out. So everybody needs to get in the gym, start playing, and figuring out how to shoot the ball. So I think I've been very, very generous and gone with them in the 8th seed. I think
I've put 8th as well.
I think I'm being very kind there. And my reason for that, LeBron's in year 20. He's still proving he can do it. I'm just going to put my money on LeBron and say take them home. So
out to the team who finished first last year, in the Phoenix Suns.
Mm-hmm.
I've got no hopes of them finishing first, in my opinion. Obviously, you've got the thing around DeAndre Ayton. Wanted out, they matched his contract, he's now stuck there. Apparently hasn't spoke to Monty Williams since the last game against Dallas. Poor coaching, in my opinion, to not speak to a player who's obviously been a bit disgruntled with the franchise. You're trying to get players on the same page and push on, particularly when you've got an aging player in Chris Paul. I think that's a poor move on his part. I don't think that's going to help situations. As I said, Chris Paul's getting older. He's going to be able to carry the load less. It's not a knock on him, it's just his age. He's going to slowly, those numbers are going to dwindle at some point. I think it could start to happen this year. I think as a team, they might just be a bit more, disgruntled overall, not meshing as well as he once did. I don't have as much hopes for the Phoenix Suns. I've got them finishing 7th. You've got the Phoenix Suns at 6th, so I think we're both in agreement with that, really.
I think they're slipping a little bit. The Ayton thing to me, the bit that if I'm DeAndre Ayton, you didn't give me an extension when I was due. You let me go to the summer. The Pacers offered me a big extension, and then you kept me. It feels like you're signing me because you just don't want other teams to have me, not you're keeping me because you want me and you think I'm the guy to keep on your team. You're keeping me for a trade asset, basically. So I think it's January 15th or something like that. He can be traded. I think the Phoenix Suns are probably going to trade him January 16th for whatever they want to try and get. But I think the collapse that they had last year in the playoffs, it shouldn't have happened. As much as I love the Dallas Mavericks because they're my team and I support them, there's no way we should have won that series. It shouldn't have happened. And the 2-year spell that Phoenix have had...
That final game was phenomenal.
Oh, it was amazing. I loved that. It was brilliant. But for a Phoenix Suns fan, it was horrible. It was so bad that the club had to come out and write statements apologising to the fans for how bad they played in Game 7. That's what the owner did. That's how bad they played.
Luka Doncic was trolling them during the game with the looks, and he was giving Devin Booker and everything else.
Yep. Well, it is what it is.
I don't think we could believe what we were watching the next day because we didn't know the result.
No, I'm watching it and just seeing it. It was like, a part of me was like, if we blow this from being up 50, we should just be sacked off and put in the G League or something. But there's just what happened there with that 2-year spell for me. That was Phoenix's time to get a championship. They unfortunately came unstuck against Milwaukee in 2021. They went into the playoffs last season, best record in the league, 64 wins. You could argue, Paul and Booker were looking like a really great dynamic duo, and it just didn't work in the playoffs against us. So for me, I think this is one of those seasons where they do take a few steps back. So
So last in the Pacific Division, we've got the Sacramento Kings. I've got them finishing ninth, just one below the Lakers. I think they're going to make the playoffs through the play-in. They've won 4 games in the preseason, and they beat the Lakers near 50 in the last one, and I think it was near 30 in the first. They've outscored the Los Angeles Lakers preseason by about 80 points in playing them twice.
Yep.
That's great for Kings fans. You've got a good draft pick. You've got Kevin Huerter. You've got De'Aaron Fox as well. You've got Mike Brown as the coach, I believe, has just went there as well. So overall for Sacramento, I think they're going to push on. They're going to somehow make the playoffs through the play-in. I've got high hopes for them. I've got them finishing 9th. You've got them finishing 11th. So you think they're going to be around the same overall?
What I'll say about this is the way you feel about the way you feel about the Charlotte Hornets is how I feel about the Sacramento Kings. When I think of the word mediocre, I just see that jersey slapping in the dictionary. And to put it into this context...
Better jersey than the Charlotte one, though.
The Kings are so rubbish. If you put your kid in a Kings hoodie and send him to school, you'll get done for littering. That's how bad they are. So they do nothing. Like, since I've been a fan, I don't think I've seen them win 40 games. They're just so rubbish. So, no, I've been very generous where I put them. And that's, again, I'm thinking, Keegan Murray, let's see what he can do. You've got Domantas Sabonis as an all-star. De'Aaron Fox really needs to take that next step, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm being generous. I'm saying just outside the play-in. But if you also look at who else I've put in through 12 through 15, they're tankers. So, by default...
you've got them between Portland and OKC. Yeah, you've got OKC under them. Yeah, and...
So, I've got 3 tankers, and then I've got the Kings.
I think they're going to finish above... Portland Pelicans to me.
If that's how you feel, that's right. But the way you feel about the Charlotte Hornets is the exact way I feel about the Sacramento Kings. So
I just like them to do well. I think I like the Instagram account, which posts a lot of memes as well. I like the Sacramento Kings.
I'm a fan of the banter, the Sacramento Kings banter. That is brilliant. But you're not here to be a joke team. You're here to win basketball games. And since I've been a fan, I've never seen you do it at a consistent rate. So at least the Charlotte Hornets can say, we've made the playoffs a couple of times. That's about it.
So I've got them finishing 9th. We'll speak about it more when we speak about who's making the playoffs and stuff. But if the Sacramento Kings make it into the playoffs, you have to buy yourself a Sacramento Kings hoodie.
Okay. I mean, I might never wear it, but I'll buy it.
No, you've got to wear it.
I don't really wear hoodies anyway.
You've got to wear it for the time that they're in the playoffs, which might only be a week.
Oh yeah, that's all right. I'll be playing one game and I can burn it then and sack this off. So the very final division we've got to go through, we're going into the Southwest Division. First team up is my Dallas Mavericks. Finished 4th last year, 52 wins. What are you thinking about these, Ryan?
You've got them down as 5th, and I've got them down as 5th as well. So I think it'll thereabout be the same, really. And I'm only putting them... It's just because some other teams are going to rise, like the Clippers and so on, are going to move up further because obviously they're injury-free, fingers crossed. I think they're going to stay pretty much similar. They're a really good team. Love Luka Doncic. They've got some good supporting cast. I just think it's going to be a similar season in all, really. I think obviously they've lost Jalen Brunson. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they're going to be too bad about them, really. I think they'll make up for the loss.
I think Spencer Dinwiddie can facilitate the second ball handler role and still score. I like the additions we made. I do like JaVale McGee and I do like Christian Wood. I just feel like we're still maybe like another really good defensive piece away from kind of taking the steps I'd like to see us. And I don't think we got worse. I just don't think that we pushed on the same way some other teams did. We did lose Lord Boban, and I'm very upset about that because that was Luka's best friend. So I might catch a Houston game here or there just to see Boban smile. But I'm thinking that we can still be a good team. I do like what we've got. Jaden Hardy has apparently been playing well in the preseason, so I'll be keeping an eye out on him as well as a younger player. So, moving on swiftly to Boban's new team, we've got the Houston Rockets. As you famously mentioned, they were dead last year with only 20 wins. What are we thinking about the team and the roster?
I think they're going to slowly push up. So I've put them into 12th position, but that's just because of the rookies they've got. Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. I think they're going to move them up to like 12th. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to try and tank less, basically. And you're going to see the rookies develop, which will be good to watch. But ultimately, they're just going to fall around the 12th. You've got some teams who are going to try and tank a bit more than them, so they're going to obviously fall beneath them, really. not much to expect from the Houston Rockets. I'll just be interested to see how the rookies push on. That's
yeah,
it.
Same for me. This is just a year of development. They've got a couple of like older players where you might see them get traded. So Eric Gordon, he's a good wing shooter. We were talking about Lakers not having wing shooters. He's another guy who shoots like 40% from three and an older player. I feel like there'll be teams knocking on Houston's door saying, we're pushing on for a playoff spot. We need a wing shooter. What is it for Eric Gordon? But I agree with you. I think this team, it's going to rack up a lot of L's, not because they're not good, but it's development for young players and pushing on. Having a look next at the Memphis Grizzlies. Finished second last year. They surprised me. I didn't think they were going to finish that high. They got 56 wins. Ja Morant took big steps. Most improved player. Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bain. I like Steven Adams. Steven Adams is my favourite player. I'd love to have a beer with him. I reckon he's a really good laugh. I really like this roster. I think they're a team that should still be competing in that top. I think I put them in third, actually. I don't think they're second, but I think I put them in the top three in the West, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I've got them in the fourth, you've got them in the third position. I think it'll be pretty much similar. They maybe make the second round, do they have to go against in the third, go against the sixth. So for me, it'd be against Timberwolves. Yeah, I'd pick them.
And then they'd match up with the
second. I'm sorry, no, they wouldn't. They'd be going against the fifth, the Mavs. So I'd probably pick the Grizz over the Mavs, really, based off my predictions. And you'd probably you'd go with six, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Which would be the Suns.
I'd take them over the Suns at the minute. I would, honestly.
Maybe.
I think with the youth and the speed, I think they could cause them some trouble. But Memphis are a really, really exciting team to play, to watch. Sorry, not just because of Ja Morant. I just think they move the ball well. I think they look like a team that wants to progress together, which I think it's hard sometimes getting that buy-in from all your players that we're all like trying to achieve the same common goal type of thing. So I do like watching them, and I've got a lot of high hopes for them. So it'll be an interesting one, and hopefully Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson continue improving. We're now moving on to the New Orleans Pelicans. They finished 8th last year, 36 wins. They've got quite an interesting roster, really. Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Jonas Valanciunas, Jose Alvarado. What do you reckon about the New Orleans Pelicans?
I've got them dropping. I think last year nobody's literally said this before. Over some teams just overplaying and doing quite well.
Yeah,
and managing to make the playoffs or whatever, or do well in the play-in. I think that's sort of what happened last year. I've not got many high hopes for him. I'm not massive on Zion Williams.
He's in all honesty, Williamson, he's coming fit this year.
Yeah, he's coming fit, but he looks like a player who's going to have a lot of injuries to me. And I borderline predicted it last year before the start of the season. I said he looked like he's going to be someone who has a few injuries. The way he couldn't motivate himself through the season doesn't scream well, considering you're that early on to your career. You think you'd be chomping at the bit to get started.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm not that high on him, really. And in all fairness, I don't have much expectations for them. I've got them finishing 11th. You've got them finishing...
I've got them in a playoff spot, play-in spot. Sorry, I think the combo of Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, guys who are borderline all-star. I think actually Ingram has been an all-star before. So you've got two borderline all-stars there. When Zion Williamson did last play, he was putting up 26 points per game and playing really well in the season. He did. I'm not saying he's coming back at that level, but that trio combination, I when I was looking at my predictions of who finishes where, I was kind of flipping and flopping with 7, 8 and 9 as to who finishes where. I think it was so close. So, but yeah, it feels like a season that's going to be a bit of an unpredictable one because Zion Williamson's health is just a little bit
suspect.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of it, to be totally honest. So the very final team we've got to cover is the San Antonio Spurs, a team that for basically 2 decades were the model franchise. Things have changed. They finished 10th last year. I see them slipping a little bit more. They've traded away basically the only jewel in the crown in Dejounte Murray, and I think they're looking for picks and they're looking to get Big Vic if they can.
Yeah, I've got them at 14th. There's not going to be much to scream about in San Antonio. Jeremy Sohan is the rookie, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that. But other than that, I probably won't want to watch many Spurs games in all honesty.
You're not going to be tuning in to see Big Dougie McDermott?
No, thank you.
No, he shoots threes, really.
No. Yeah, I don't honestly have much hopes for it. You've got them finished at the 13th. San Antonio, if you're listening, there's not much to say about you. Good luck in the draft. We'll see you at the end of the season.
Nothing personal, San Antonio.
So, to summarise, we've got our standings overall.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the West, you've got first Denver Nuggets, Second, Golden State Warriors. Third, Memphis Grizzlies. Fourth, LA Clippers. Fifth, Dallas Mavericks. Sixth, Phoenix Suns. Seventh, Minnesota Timberwolves. Eighth, LA Lakers. Ninth, New Orleans Pelicans. 10th, Portland Trail Blazers. 11th is the Sacramento Kings. 12th is the OKC Thunder. 13th, you've got the Spurs. 14th, you've got the Houston Rockets. And finally, you've got the Jazz. In comparison to mine, I've got Golden State at first, Clippers at second, Nuggets at third, Grizzlies at fourth, then the Mavs at fifth, Timberwolves sixth, seventh is the Phoenix Suns, LA Lakers same as you is eighth, Sacramento Kings are climbing all the way up to the ninth spot, Portland Trail Blazers are below them in 10th, 11th is the New Orleans Pelicans, poor team. 12th is the Houston Rockets, not expecting much. 13th is the OKC Thunder again. 14th is the Spurs for me, and then once again 15th is the Jazz for me. So Scott, to focus on your predictions, 7th spot you've got the Timberwolves, Lakers at 8th, and then 9th you've got the Pelicans, 10th is the Trailblazers. Who do you see making them play-ins?
I would go at the minute with the Timberwolves, and I'm gonna go bold and say the Portland Trailblazers.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just really like Damian Lillard, and I just think he can cause so much of a problem that, yeah, those are going to be the two that I take in a play-in series. So
7th, 8th, and 9th, yeah, and 10th. So I've got the Suns, Lakers, Kings, and Portland. I'm gonna go the Kings and Suns.
Okay.
Lakers are gonna miss out again. Kings are gonna make the playoffs. There's gonna be purple banners everywhere around Sacramento. Chris Webber's going to come out of retirement. It's all happening in Sacramento, and then they're going to get swept.
Yeah,
but they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to get swept, but they're going to make the playoffs.
That'll do.
So we've done predictions for the conference finals as well, because it's a bit difficult to predict the entire playoff bracket and how it's all going to play out. So what we've done, we've whittled it down to conference finals. So for the West, you've got Denver Nuggets against the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
I've got Golden State against the Clippers.
I think you can make a case for either one of those. I don't think any fan out there will be, angry with those series. They'd be really fun series to watch. To me, I just think Denver and Golden State are the top two in my bracket. I don't see why they'd come unstuck. So I think it'd be natural for them to meet in the conference finals.
Both make good conference finals.
Yeah.
Both options. So to focus on our East predictions. As follows, Scott's predictions are: first is the 76ers, second Milwaukee Bucks, third Miami Heat, fourth the Brooklyn Nets, fifth Boston Celtics, sixth the Toronto Raptors, seventh Cleveland Cavaliers, eighth Chicago Bulls, ninth Atlanta Hawks, 10th Charlotte Hornets, 11th New York Knicks, 12th Detroit Pistons, 13th the Washington Wizards, 14th Orlando Magic, and then the Indiana Pacers. You can't believe putting Indiana that far down. I'm joking, I've got the same. So I've got first the Bucks. So I've flipped it. You've put the Bucks second. I've got them first. I've got the Sixers in second. Heat third, similar to you. I've then got the Boston Celtics. Toronto Raptors follows. Then Cleveland Cavaliers. Then the Hawks in seventh. The Bulls in eighth. All the way down for me. I've got the Nets at ninth. I've got no hopes for them. Partly because I don't like them. 10th New York Knicks. 11th Detroit Pistons, 12th the Washington Wizards, 13 Orlando Magic. Big Polo's going to do big things and lift them to 13th. And then we've got Charlotte in 14th, no hopes. And then obviously we both agreed Pacers is the poor Pacers. So it's going nowhere. So in terms of the playing for that, Scott, what's your thoughts?
I went with, so mine is 7 is Cleveland, 8 is Chicago, 9 is Atlanta, 10 Charlotte. At the minute, I'd go Cleveland and Chicago. I'd go my 7 and 8, making it through. I don't think Atlanta or Charlotte will be able to give either of them a trouble.
So I've got Hawks in 7th, Bulls, then Nets, then Knicks. I'm going to go Hawks and Bulls.
Okay.
I'm going to say the Nets miss out and the Knicks miss out.
If the Nets miss out, it's going to be one hell of a summer.
Maybe we'll then get a trade after, obviously carrying on for a year. Yeah. As to what you get for them, it's a conversation for a different day. So for our conference predictions, however, we've both predicted the same thing. I thought our conference predictions were going to be widely different, but they've been very similar.
Well, in the very first video we done, if you remember, we both picked Boston to get back, I think.
Yeah, and I've not now. Although they're my team, I'm not backing that horse now.
Pre the issue with the Ime Udoka situation. So, to me, that's the reason for their slide. And it's not that I have a problem with Boston or I don't trust them. It's just there's a little bit going on at the minute, which I think is going to impact on the court play.
No, but they still had the flaws last year as well, which became apparent. So, with an absence of a coach to sort of try and iron them flaws out, you think it probably won't improve much.
A little bit too much to ask. So, I think Philly and Milwaukee in a 7-game series, I think whether you're a casual NBA fan or a fan who watches day in, day out, I think...
Who would you want to win?
Do you know what? It's not. I don't dislike Giannis at all. I would just love to see Joel Embiid stay healthy and dominate for a year and just, 30 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks and shooting from all over the place. I'd love to see it.
I'd love to see Harden returns form as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've not always... Obviously, Harden's had his moments in the past and I've criticised him rightly or wrongly so, but he's shown character to take less and he does look to be committed to Philly. So from Joel Embiid's standpoint, he's got nothing but excitement really, because he looks to be committing to it. He's committing to the process and we can expect big things from Philly. I'd love to see them win that series. Would you favour them over anyone from the West? Maybe not. Maybe the Bucks because they've done it. Maybe not Philly because they've obviously not done it in the past.
Try and think of matchup nightmares. Joel Embiid and Jokic in the centre. That's one I want to see. I'm not sure how Golden State would be able to handle Joel Embiid. I think they might struggle with that.
Off the top of your head, then out of the 4, because I wasn't going to pick a finals because it's difficult, but because we've made very similar picks.
Yeah.
Who's your pick for the finals out of them 4 teams?
So in the West, I said it before, I'm deep in the Nuggets. I'm going Denver from the West, and I'm going to go Philadelphia in the East.
Okay, so you've got Nuggets versus Sixers. I'm going to go with Clippers versus Bucks.
Clippers and Bucks, okay, I like it. I wouldn't be angry with either one of those finals, to be honest. I'd tune in and watch every game. I'd
probably edge towards maybe Giannis getting his second title, although I like the Clippers as well, so it'd be interesting to see. No chance of the Lakers being there.
So we're going to move on to now our yearly award predictions. So kind of fast forwarding towards the end of the season, who do we think are going to win in different categories? So I'll start off. I'll go with Coach of the Year. Who have you predicted for that?
Oh, that's not the way I wrote my list, but okay. No, it's fine. Coach of the Year, I've gone Tyronn Lue for the Clippers because obviously they're going to push on with John Wall and Kawhi being back, so they're going to obviously rise, going to make the coach look better and yada, yada, yada. I think he's a good pick for me for Coach of the Year.
I've gone with Mike Malone. As I said, I'm deep in Denver, so I really believe that they're going to do really well, and I think he's going to be able to make sure they push on.
But it's an interesting pick because both teams had injuries and stuff, and with the absence of those injuries, said coaches look better by pushing on with a healthy squad. So no, it's a good pick as well.
I'd love to see them do well, and I think it'd be good to see them get rewarded for it as well. I think oftentimes you can, even as a fan, when you watch a team play good, you do get caught up in the players because that's the on-court product, isn't it? But you can see a big difference where teams are well coached and they're getting the best from them and things like that. So I always like Coach of the Year because I like to see who gets it and who's being rewarded for their efforts. So for me, it's Mike Malone. Next one, we'll take a look at most improved player. Who did you pick for this? I always think this might be the hardest one because you can never tell.
Yeah, I was struggling with this, so I've just went for someone who's going to have not the back against the wall, but they've got something to prove. Jalen Brunson. Okay. Because he's got that big money contract, he's going to have something to prove. Going to need to expect big things in New York because New York fans will let you know.
Oh yeah.
If you're underperforming.
They will indeed.
So yeah, but I think it's a market he wants to be in. So good luck to him, but I'm expecting big things. I'm going to put him for most improved.
Okay. I was tossing up between 2. I've made a decision on the one I think I'm going to go with now. I'm going to go with Mikal Bridges at Phoenix. I believe that they're going to take a little bit of a downward year in terms of they may not play quite up to the level of being the first seed in the Western Conference again. But I do feel that if Chris Paul's aging a little bit more, there might be parts of his role that's taken away, so he might not be expected to score as much. Might also see that if DeAndre Ayton gets traded, there might need to be someone producing a little bit more as well. Now, Mikal Bridges obviously doesn't play those positions, but he's great defensively, and he was in the Defensive Player of the Year running. I want to see whether he can take that step now and start to be more of a consistent scorer for them. So for me, Mikal Bridges is going to get my nod as the prediction for most improved player. We'll have a look now at our predictions for the sixth man of the year. Again, until you see a few starting fives and a couple of games in, you don't know who's actually facilitating that role. Yeah. Who did you go for with just kind of a gut instinct feeling? Who are you going for?
Well, because the Celtics aren't going to win the championship and stuff in my eyes, so I want them to have an award. I don't think Marcus Smart is going to have defensive year twice. So I went with Malcolm Brogdon to be the sixth man of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Expect big things from him. It'd be an award for the Celtics. I picked him because I want the Celtics to win something, really. So, yeah, because obviously 6 man's difficult, as you said. Until you see the starting lineups, it's difficult, but I think he could be a good 6 man for Boston. I'm going to keep Marcus Smart at the point because I like Marcus Smart. Although he might be a 6 man, but play more than your average minutes for your 6 man.
He'll play starters minutes, but coming off the bench, basically.
Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah. So he still will do more of the true point guard stuff when it's needed with some of the starting lineup and rotate in that way. No, but I'm going with Malcolm Brogdon.
I've kind of gone with you. I've not picked this guy because he's a Dallas Mavericks player. I do think he will facilitate an off the bench role this year and be good at it. We missed him a lot last year. It was Tim Hardaway Jr. He missed like half the season due to injury, I think. So at the minute, in terms of starting backcourt, it's going to be Luka and Spencer Dinwiddie as the backcourt duo for us. Tim Hardaway Jr., he's a bit of a black hole at times, doesn't pass the ball too much, but when he gets hot, he can really heat up in terms of scoring. So I think for me, as an off-the-bench guy, giving Luka and Spencer some minutes off, I think he's going to be the guy to facilitate that in terms of a lot of buckets, energy off the bench, and he's going to be my hope for 6 man of the year. Moving on to now a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Was there anyone that came to mind for you as I'm going to put my prediction with this guy?
It's going to be a guard again. Obviously, that's usually quite rare, isn't it?
Very rare. Very, very rare.
So, I thought it's not really Rudy Gobert again and stuff. I thought, Giannis was going to win another Defensive Player of the Year. I thought that would be a good award for him to win. Obviously, he's brilliant in it anyway, but I think, that'll be somewhere he shines this year, and I've put him for the Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay. I've gone with Bam Adebayo from the Miami
I was thinking of Bam Adebayo, and then I thought, because I looked at previous awards, no, I'll go back with Giannis because he's proven.
No, I'm going with Bam for the reason we talked about earlier with the Miami Heat getting a little bit older. I think they're going to have to hang their hat a little bit more on defence this year than just scoring the ball, if that makes sense. I'm not saying they haven't got guys who can't score, but I think that's where they're going to try and squeeze teams defensively. And I think that'll start with Jimmy Butler as well, but Bam Adebayo making sure that anything comes into the paint, he's getting rid of, he's altering shots and he's making it difficult. So, and I think he was really close to winning it last year as well. He is a good defender. So for me, I want to see him take that next step. I want to see Miami kind of squeeze people defensively and force them into bad shots. And I think they're going to hang their hat on that side of the court. So we'll have a look next at the Rookie of the Year predictions. So again, one of them's already injured and out, so don't forget that when you're making your prediction. Who did you go for potential for Rookie of the Year this year?
Oh, I can't put Chet Holmgren.
Unfortunately not. Maybe next year when he plays.
Yeah, because he can compete for it next year. So there you go, Chet. I might put you next year. But I think there's a few rookies that I was interested in. I was looking at Jaden Ivey and stuff. But I do think, first pick, I think. But more so because he's basically got the keys to the franchise in Orlando as well. They've just not been expected to win for a while. So he's just in a place to where he can showcase all his talents.
Yeah.
And amongst his class, he's going to get that opportunity far more than someone else. So it's just going to basically be the Paolo Banchero show, in my opinion, which ultimately determines that. Because for the poor teams, as long as he improves them by a seed or two, he's shown that he's improved them in terms of winning percentage. It's more about the individual player for the rookie as they come in.
Yeah.
So, I'm going with Paolo Banchero.
I've gone with Jabari Smith Jr. in Houston for a similar reason. They're not going to be looking to do particularly well. It's about development. He can score the ball. I think they're just going to say develop, basically. And I could see him putting up, pretty good rookie numbers, kind of like 18 points, handful of rebounds and assists and stuff. And an eye test, you go, wow, great season. You look at the record, it wouldn't be the same, but these teams with high rookies are usually not going to be pushing for a playoff seed anyway. So I've gone with Jabari Smith Jr. just because I think alongside Jalen Green, I think could be a good little combo. They're going to allow him to develop and just get plenty of shots up as well. And then the very final one, MVP. I'm not sure, but I think we may have picked the same one on this one. Who did you go for as your prediction for?
We've picked the same one. It's a boring finish. I've went with Joel Embiid, partly because I'd like him to finally get it. You could see how disheartened he was last year when he didn't get MVP.
Oh, yes.
And I struggled with the MVP in the sense that I think they announced it too late. it needs to be, if it's for the regular season, why not announce it? Doing award ceremony at the end, but
totally
between the end of the regular season, because you're then looking at Jokic after seeing his now the playoffs going, well, there's players further on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there should be
the awards for the regular season, in my opinion, need to end then to start the playoffs, because obviously you get, particularly now, last year, they've now got even more awards in the playoffs than ever before.
Yeah, you've got your Western Conference Finals,
MVPs, and as well as obviously your regular trophies for winning your conference and stuff, but there's far more awards there. It takes the shine off, because by then you've forgot a bit of the regular season.
You have. That's why
you've moved on from it. You're near the finals of the NBA. So no, I'm going with Joel Embiid. I think he finally gets over the hump. He gets the credit he deserves. He's gonna do. Hopefully, James Harden's gonna help him massively in the sense that there's not so much onus on him. So it'll help maybe from an injury standpoint. So when he does play, he stays a bit more healthy. He needs to manage his minutes a bit less and stuff. I'm going Joel Embiid.
Yeah, no, I totally agree for a lot of the reasons you mentioned there. I think this is the year where he pushes through and he shows he is arguably the best two-way centre in the league. Not a knock on Jokic, but defensively it's not even close. I think Joel Embiid shows this year that he is the top centre in the league. I can easily see him putting up 28 to 30 points, 10 to 13 rebounds, 3-4 assists, a couple of blocks, and he'll be shooting tremendously as well. If he can stay fit and healthy, and I think if Philly could win like around about 58 plus games type of thing, and he is the definitive leader, James Harden's the number 2, I don't see any reason why he's not getting MVP. And I really like that over the last few years, it's been bigger guys. For a long time, it felt like it was just guards and just forwards and things like that, or like it was more traditionally LeBron and KD in the small forward position and stuff. We're getting guys who are more the size of a... I know Giannis plays power forward more than centre, but Jokic is a 2-time MVP now. I think I want to see Joel Embiid get it. I feel like his career is good enough and he's a good enough player where he needs an MVP in his locker, really. So, yeah, Joel Embiid is going to get my vote this year.
So to close, we've just noted it down, some general predictions, a bit more light-hearted. They can be as daft as you want.
A little bit of fun.
So they're coming up next. So Scott, what is your first general prediction? Whatever you want.
Mike Brown will be fired first before any other coach. He's playing for the Sacramento Kings. Not playing for the Sacramento Kings. He's coaching the Sacramento Kings. He's going to try his best. It isn't going to work like the other 500 coaches before him, and he'll get booted. That's my opinion.
Okay, right. Well, this isn't my first prediction, but it was one that I sort of alluded to earlier. Because it's King related, my first prediction is that the Kings are making the playoffs, and they're probably going to get swept in the first round, but they're making the playoffs through the play-in.
You're right, go, mate. They're not making the playoffs. No, I'm not at all.
So, what's your second one? Because I've already said mine was the opposite to yours, so it's just a...
Ben Simmons will drain a three-pointer.
Ben Simmons isn't going to drain a three-pointer. Although it's an interesting topic.
I'll take that bet.
How do you think Ben Simmons is going to play it on Brooklyn?
I think the role he's going to facilitate now as a third option, I don't think his points per game are not going to be too impressive, but having a proper point guard to facilitate Kyrie, who's more of a scoring guard, and getting KD in open spots, and more importantly defending, I think if he stays fit he can be really valuable to them. He's not going to have to do the same thing that Philadelphia were wanting to do.
Do you think his attitude is in the right place?
Hell no, definitely not. But I just, not my problem, so...
No, but that's what I mean. I just think that's obviously going to play out.
I think there's three very combustible egos there, isn't there, where it seems like all three can take things super personally. They can get a little bit caught up in things and maybe argue with coaches and not want to play and stuff. So it depends. If it feels like maybe Steve Nash isn't supporting him, will he sit out, the way he did with Philly and things? But I think he can be valuable if he's in that third position role and he's not asked to do too much other than pass and defend, basically.
Not a prediction because there will be 4 each, but Doc Rivers doesn't deliver this year. That's his final season for the Sixers, in my opinion, as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That was just a prediction off the top of my head, because based off how it looked last year, I was thinking of Doc Rivers, by the way, because of Ben Simmons and how that played out. If Doc Rivers doesn't deliver this year and they completely fold in one of the rounds, even be it the finals, if they get swept in the final, I think Doc Rivers' time in Philly is gone.
What's your second prediction then?
My second prediction, so we've done the Kings. My second prediction was that LeBron will win the All-Star MVP.
Okay.
I think he's going to have a good year, obviously, in terms of the points overall,
Mm-hmm.
passing for the most points overall, and then I think he'll win MVP as well. I think he'll have a good year.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be a good award for him to win, and I could see him picking that up.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair shout. He's definitely going to be in the All-Star game. If they're still doing the captain and picking of teams, he'll be voted in probably as a captain. I can't remember off the top of my head how many he's got, though, but if he was to maybe get 1-1, maybe that would push him as the all-time leader in All-Star game. Yeah. I feel like he's got 3 or 4 already, so no, but I think it's a fair shout. My third prediction is Pat Beverley will be traded.
Right, I'll go into my third prediction from this then.
I think the Lakers will be like, yeah, we brought you in. You're not actually helping the team that much, but another team who are pushing in a playoff and need a backup point guard will take you. So there you go. That's my opinion.
So I've not got a deadline on this, and it's not Pat Bev, but it involves Pat Bev and my little line underneath.
Okay.
I've got Westbrook waived, traded.
Oh wow.
He's gone at some point.
Wow.
Because you've seen him not wanting to join in a team huddle and stuff in these pre-season games and stuff. It's a poor attitude to display. However, in brackets underneath, I've put Pat Bev fist fight. So,
I'll pay to see that.
Maybe it's linked with a fallout between them two. But I could see Westbrook being out of LA at some point this year. It's not because I want him to be. I just don't think obviously you see the training videos. It goes, oh, Westbrook's training freeze. Most NBA players could train freeze in a practice facility all day.
Yeah.
Because that's how good they are. It's different. Obviously, watching a game live from the angle you see it on TV, and then even seeing the courtside view, you see how much faster that game is again, and how tight those spaces are. So it's not a knock on Westbrook shooting ability or anything. He's not going to be a most improved shooter this year or anything. It's not going to happen with the age he is. I don't think, I think they've tried bringing him off the bench against that game against Sacramento. I think Darvin Ham's probably going to try and bench him. He's a bit disgruntled. How they work it out in terms of getting rid of him, I have no idea.
No.
Ideally, you'd probably like to see them get Buddy Hield for him, but does that work out for Westbrook? Because they're not going to use him in Indiana, so it's not a good result for Russell either, and I'd like to see him get a good result out of it. I don't see a good ending to it for the Lakers or Russell Westbrook.
Unfortunately not. My fourth and final prediction, Jordan Poole will be an All-Star.
That's a good prediction, actually. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I think he's shown enough last year. I think without Steph Curry in the regular season, he was putting about 22, 23 points a game and a handful of assists. I could see him taking that leap now as being the number 2 guy behind Steph offensively. Not to knock Klay Thompson, but I could see Jordan Poole taking that next step. Now he's getting paid like a starter. He's getting paid like an all-star. It's time for him to do it really. So yeah, that's my prediction. He's going to be a first-time all-star this year.
I'd like to see that, actually. I think it would be good to see. So my final prediction is DeAndre Ayton is traded in January. I think that's the time he'll be traded. I'm not sure where to. I think he'll be disgruntled. I don't think it's going to improve much through October to obviously the beginning of January.
Probably not.
He's got to go.
Especially if they don't get off to a good start. If Phoenix are a bit
even if they have a good start and they hit a slump, it can go either way. But I think there's going to be a slump at some point.
Yeah.
Given the first half of the season.
If they start 7-11, and there are a few games under 500, and there's already that thing swirling around of, does he want to be here? Do we really want to keep him? I think it would just manifest, and January 16th would come and they'd be like, yeah, we're sending you to Indiana now. So. Yeah,
so I could see Ayton being traded in January. I think it's one of the ones I'm more confident about, actually.
Yeah.
I think he probably doesn't want to be there now based off what happened.
It may be what's best for both parties. If he doesn't want to be there and the team don't see him as the centre for who they want to have for the future.
You just didn't want to lose him for nothing.
That was they didn't want to let him go to Indiana on a free, essentially. So now they may take Buddy Hield, Miles Turner and something else in return for him. They may feel like that triple or trio of players is more valuable than what DeAndre Ayton is. They just didn't want to let him go for free, so I think that's going to kind of...
But imagine if that trade goes through and DeAndre Ayton's a pacer, centre, and then they get the first pick in the draft and take... So it's just...
Then you flip DeAndre Ayton again?
It's just poor results for DeAndre Ayton again, isn't it?
Who knows?
But yeah, that's something that could happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was today's predictions video. Let us know your predictions down below. What ones do you agree with? What ones do you not disagree with? It'll be interesting to look at this maybe halfway through the season, revisit it, but definitely at the end of the season to see. I'd love to compare the official table to where we got them.
That'd be brilliant.
The only one I'm nailed on for is the kings and knife position.
You can nail that yourself if you want. I do. A man has a debt to pay as well. So not too long ago, played a little bit of basketball with some old uni buddies. We played some round the world and some horse. Julian won the first game, hit a couple of threes to finish it. Valdo won the second game before Julian and I actually even got to the 3-point line, and I won horse. And if I lost, I had to give them a shout out on this. So Julian, Valdo, well done. You beat me around the world. I look forward to playing you guys again in the future, hopefully.
Join us next time when we'll be starting our weekly NBA recap show, hopefully on a Sunday.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure to bounce past this podcast to a mate. Let them have a listen. Let them have a laugh. See you next time.